Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble. We're coming to you tonight, recording 28 minutes after Arsenal succumbed to a 2-1 loss at home to Swansea City. It was a dreary night all round. I'm joined today by Judd from across the pond. How you doing, mate?
I think you know how I'm doing.
I actually had a pretty good day today. I don't know about you. I was,
had
a pretty chilled day.
Aside.
The sun was shining. I had a nice lunch today. And then I remember that Arsenal were playing. I thought, oh, shit. I've only just come out of the mood I had from the weekend. And I thought, well, at least we're playing Swansea at home. Perfect chance to get a title challenge back on track or something close to that.
And after the weekend, we had Leicester drop points yesterday, so we thought going into this match that this would be a perfect opportunity to get back into the fight.
Do you know what? It almost would have felt better if if Leicester had won last night, if Spurs had maybe got something at White Hart Lane at West Ham.
As terrible as that is to say,
and then but it would have felt like, well, that kind of confirms what we already knew. But you look at what's happened and Leicester drawing yesterday at home to West Brom. That's a big result. We didn't expect to happen. West Ham beat Tottenham today. Liverpool smashed Man City. I mean, you could not have asked for more.
Oh, no.
Especially when we have a home game against Swansea City, a team that has not had a good season, a team whose manager is currently in the hospital with a chest infection, a team who, this is a team who played a few players who weren't in their first team. Sigurdsson was rested. He didn't come on to the second half. I mean, it really could not have been.
It's set up perfectly for us.
The circumstances.
You couldn't ask for more.
Better. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at it. Yesterday when I knew that Leicester were playing, I thought, well, actually, really, it was after Leicester got that draw, because that was the game you thought of all our rivals. That was the one that you'd think that our rivals would win, and Leicester drew against West Brom. Tottenham going to West Ham, you always thought that'd be a tough game. City going to Liverpool. So earlier today I thought this, believe it or not, but after the United game we could really get ourselves back in it. Undeservedly, some would say, but we were in with a chance. And when we were cruising today at one point, we were 1-0 up. We started the game very well. Alexis hit the post. We looked very good in possession. Not that particularly clinical in the box, but we were creating some chances.
Right.
And then we go 1-0 up. I mean, before we go into the Grizzly aftermath, let's talk about the first goal, because I think. If we're going to talk about anything positive tonight, it should be Judd's performance.
Absolutely.
Before the game, I think everyone thought, well, it's after Oxlade-Chamberlain's injury and Walcott's abysmal performance at the weekend, there was only one option.
Right.
With regards to who
I tweeted out before the match how excited I was that he was going to finally get another look. I thought that when he was playing earlier this year, he certainly was showing signs of, maybe coming around the corner and really turning into a quality player for us here at Arsenal. And then you see the performances by the people that have been replacing him since, and you're just left scratching your head wondering, what does he have to do to get in,
Well, he had a good run. I remember when he scored his first goal for us in the league against Swansea in the other game.
Yep.
In Wales. And he went on a bit of a run after that. He played very well. He did drop off a little bit, and I think you make a case for maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain getting a few games. He got scored against Bournemouth. But in recent weeks especially, the lack of chances for Campbell, especially when Iwobi came on at Old Trafford rather than him, it very much felt like Wenger was, not giving him a fair crack of the whip.
Right.
So, if he hadn't started today, it would have been there would have been outcry,
and rightfully so.
And rightfully so, because I think with Campbell, even if he doesn't have the best of games, something that he does that Theo Walcott often doesn't do is he battles, shows up, and he tries to make things happen. And honestly, I thought for that first 20, 30 minutes when we took the lead, Campbell was our brightest spark. He looked fantastic. Not just because he scored a fantastic goal, but because he was always trying to make things happen.
Yeah, he was getting the ball in the threatening positions. I think he had a pretty decent cross that he put in that we weren't able to get anything from. But, he certainly looked to be the person that was going to take us over the edge tonight. You know, he looked like he was, you know, out there to prove something, to, you know, cement his claim to that spot. And you couldn't ask for anything more coming off of Sunday's performance by Walcott. I mean, it was just completely abysmal, and really the selection made itself, because if nothing else, you had to make that change to prove a point to Theo that what he did would not be tolerated, and we need more out of our players. And it looked like Campbell was really taking advantage of that opportunity that was presented to him tonight. And the first half from him was just, it was exactly what that we needed right now.
Yeah, and I said this a while ago, but I felt that, you know, with Cazorla out of the team, with Alexis in pretty abysmal form, only really Özil, I think, is a better passer of the ball than Campbell in our team, in terms of being able to make things happen, be able to move the ball in tight spaces and create chances. Campbell really does feel like, you know, apart from Ozil in our current team, the player most likely capable of making things happen. And he certainly showed that. And, you know, for his goal, it was a fantastic run, but also a superb lofted pass through from Alexis. And Campbell, you know, finished with aplomb, really.
What a finish that was, man.
Yeah, it was. It looked easier than it was,
across,
I think.
Oh, it didn't even look easy. I mean, he's coming across from over his left shoulder. He's on the, you know, far post, and then he's turning, hit the ball in the half volley, falling down, back across his body, across the keeper into the, you know, the back post. I mean, it was a brilliant finish. I mean, it was just something you dream of.
Yeah, and it was for a player who hadn't played regularly for some time. It was a really accomplished finish. And anyway, so that's about a few minutes into the podcast, and that's about as happy as it will get.
Yeah, that's the one bright point, right?
We had taken the lead. What was encouraging was that, you know, Alexis had that chance where he hit the post, and then we still scored after it. So you thought, okay, maybe this won't be one of those nights. Maybe we'll do what we should be doing.
It really looked like there was only one team on the field for the first, you know, half hour or so. We were, you know, down their throat. We were bringing the game to them. I don't think they even had a shot before their goal. I mean, that's a half chance, but nothing threatening.
But it's interesting, and I said that on Twitter. I said we started well, we played well, but it just took a second for them to cut us open and take you had one chance, they took it. You know, we can talk about whether or not Özil was fouled in the build-up. Frankly, I don't even care particularly, because those sort of decisions, they're 50-50. They're going to go one way or the other, and you can't stand on your heels appealing for everything and then blame those decisions when they go against you if you concede from it or a decision goes against you afterwards. So, you know, Özil, it looked like he was fouled, but the free kick wasn't given. And then Routledge made the most basic of runs between Mertesacker and Bellerin and found himself in absolutely acres of space, one-on-one with Cech, and really he couldn't miss, and he didn't. And, you know, whilst you could say
first goal in over a year,
it was just, but that was the thing. It just feels like no matter how in control we are at the moment, even when we do actually turn up and play well, we are at any moment, you know, 5-10 seconds away from implosion, because we can just switch off like that, and teams can carve us apart. Players who aren't that good can go and score, and all the while, you know, you're watching it. We've hit the post, we've dominated, but we've gone 1-0 up, and you think we should cruise this now, and then we concede. You think, oh, that's unlucky. But Judd, how many times have we been here before? Even just this season?
I've lost count. I mean, it's become a running joke at Arsenal. You know, I even tweeted at halftime that was the most Arsenal-y half ever.
It was.
I mean, it was exactly what has been plaguing us. Yeah, this is what's been plaguing us for years. It's either, you know, we make, you know, some backup championship goalkeeper look like Manuel Neuer, or we hit the post 3 times. We give up one chance to our opponent and they take it. You know, before at least we could point our fingers at Szczesny and say that, you know, he has a tendency to switch off. But today it was the entire squad. You know, and getting back to their goal, I think that Ozil was definitely fouled. I mean, I can't remember who it was that from Swansea that was on his back, but he didn't even get a touch on the ball. I mean, he's just pulling him down. Ozil's leg comes out, hits the ball back towards, you know, our back four, and we're sleeping. And that part of it is what makes that goal completely, I don't want to say acceptable.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you, Judd. I'm at the point now where I just don't care. Like these decisions that go against us.
Right.
Like I'm at the point. I'm at the point where, I understand. For example, if a player takes a dive in the box, like Jamie Vardy did against us the other week, he gets a penalty for it, or if there's a clear red card challenge given on one of our against one, if an opposition player makes a red card challenge and doesn't get a red card for even a booking, that riles me up. When a decision like that goes against us, and then we allow ourselves to be completely sliced open, and the ball's in the back of our net 5 or 6 seconds later, the decision itself. No, and also it was like like when Vardy scored and got the penalty against us, and that happened after Özil was fouled clearly in the Leicester box, But again, I care. Obviously, that was a bit different because I cared about the fact that Vardy had dived over Monreal's leg. But the defending up to that point was shocking after we lost the ball, and it was the same again here. And you just think to yourselves, we've been here so many times. We were 1-0 up. Why isn't the defence incredibly switched on? I mean, it's understandable when you're on a great winning run and the defence has had very little to do. You're playing against a side who's a steamroller. You could then perhaps forgive players for losing concentration. Whereas the goalkeeper, the defence. But we've been
now. It's a pattern for us now.
Exactly. We've been doing it so often recently. We've switched off so often. Even at the weekend, we gave away so many sloppy goals through a lack of concentration. Every player on that pitch should be fully focused. There was literally no excuse for complacency at this point. And Swansea aren't a team we've beaten often. When they first came up to the Premier League, we often lost. We lost a couple of times, I think, at the Liberty Stadium. Mm-hmm. Last season, they came here and beat us.
Yeah, Gomes.
I think, is it 3 years in a row? Because Flamini scored an own goal one year. Gomes scored the winner last year. So, there is no reason for underestimating this opponent. And even when they changed Swansea changed their team up today. Man United played the C team at the weekend and we lost.
Changed up their squad so that they could put out their best squad in a relegation 6-pointer. This is the team that's in a relegation battle. And we're playing them at home in one of the most pivotal games of our season, and that's the performance we get. It's just it's absolutely infuriating, infuriating.
And I think it's interesting because I think you look at this performance and the one against United, and across those two games, you really have the epitome of what is wrong with this team.
Yeah.
Against United, it was a case of we just did not show up, and we played. I think it was Clive might have said this on the podcast the last time, but we played the badge, not the name on the back of the shirt. We didn't think that, we didn't turn up and think this is a team of players we should be beating. We thought this is Man United at Old Trafford, and we shat ourselves. We did not turn up. Today we turned up, but then as soon as things got tough, as soon as we conceded a sloppy goal, we just became a shell of ourselves. And you can tell this is a team that isn't confident in defence or up front. We missed countless chances. We look so sloppy at the back. And so you think even when we do turn up, even though when we do come to play and we start the game well, we have such a propensity for self-implosion that at any moment we could just throw it all away. And I can't remember the last time we came and just really dominated a side at home. I think it probably would have been United, I guess, a few months ago when we had like 3 or 4 games where we looked really good, and that has literally been it.
Yeah.
And to everyone who's listening, this podcast isn't taking on a particularly good format at the moment, but I think we're too exasperated tonight to break.
God, yeah.
It literally is just. I would like to say it's cathartic, but it's so depressing at the moment that I don't really feel like anything is. And I think above all else, what this season shows is that we haven't gone a decade without winning the league because of the opposition teams. I mean, in that past decade, there have been years where there's been some really superb teams that have won the league. Chelsea last year being a good example. But this year, Chelsea are 7th, are they? United have had a terrible season, but are kind of getting their shit together now. But still a bad season for Man United. City lost 3-0 at Anfield today. They're having a terrible season. So these are the 3 big clubs that have beaten us to the league title since we last won it. And they're all failing. Now, Tottenham might have lost tonight. Leicester might have drawn yesterday. But the point is, they're still ahead of us. They still, if you look at either of those teams, I mean, at this moment, I just can't really. And this is the first time I'd really say this. Even after the weekend, I felt we were still in it, just because I felt a win today and then maybe a good result at Tottenham at the weekend could revitalise us, and just maybe in this craziest of seasons we could put together a run and finish. And people might say that, I'm ridiculous. It's taken me this long to realise we're not going to win it. And there is still if we went and beat Tottenham at the weekend, you just never know with this league. But tonight, with the circumstances around it, with the results the other teams had, with this result being a relegation threatened team at home, this was the perfect game for us. We couldn't mess it up, and we haven't looked like title contenders all season. You look at Tottenham, and I see a young manager who knows what he's doing, who's getting the best out of his players. He's got guys like Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Danny Rose, these young, hungry players. I mean, Danny Rose isn't that young, but you get the point. He's not some seasoned international or seasoned pro who knows how to win leagues. There's a team full of dedicated players who are busting their asses off, and if they win the league this season, you couldn't say they were lucky or anything. They deserved it because they've been great. As of Leicester, what Leicester are doing this season is nothing short of incredible, and both of them look like teams that if they won the league, you would say, ignoring the fact they're Tottenham or Leicester, the way they've played as a team throughout the season, the fact that we're this close to these teams, even if it's only a few points, is unbelievable given how poor we have been all season. I mean, really, there was a period in October, November time when we beat United 3-0, we beat Leicester, we beat Swansea, we beat Watford. We looked really, really good. Then we lost. We lost to West Brom. We drew to Norwich, and then we drew with Tottenham just before that. I remember and thinking, can I remember when we drew with Tottenham at home? We'd won 5 on the bounce. And I came on this podcast with Clive, and we both said it was a great point because we were knackered, and it was going to the international break. We were knackered. We'd won a lot of games coming up, and Tottenham had played well on the day. We looked off it. We still got a point. We thought we can build from this. It's not the best result, but it's by no means the worst. And I really thought that we would get ourselves together and keep it going. And aside from one fantastic performance against City, and I mean, I guess Leicester the other week, we played well, but they went down to 10 men, and if they hadn't, we probably wouldn't have won that game. We've been consistently poor for a while, especially since the Southampton game you mentioned on Boxing Day. Yeah. I mean, if you look at our form this season, or since Christmas, sorry, in 2016,
3 wins.
I think we've only won. Let me just double check, but it is staggering, and the fact that
3 wins since Christmas
on a normal. Yeah. It's pathetic. On a normal league season, we are nowhere. We're battling for 4.
Yeah, we're done and dusted. If we're lucky, we're still in a fight for 4th at this point. And and this has been the case year after year that's kept us out of the title run. It's not, people want to point at the big matches against the big clubs, and we haven't had the greatest amount of success in those in recent years, but it's also every year we have 4 or 5 games where we're losing to teams that are in the bottom third of the league and just look absolutely outclassed, out-tacticked. I mean, it's an embarrassment. And those are the games that have been costing us. I mean, if you look at Southampton, West Brom, and the Norwich game, that's 8 points right there that we just threw away. And then tonight, add that on top of it, you got 11. If we would have won those 4 matches, we're trotting to the league title right now. And those are games that, on paper, we definitely should have been winning. And then throw in the United game against a bunch of kids and forget about it. We're already celebrating. We're already carrying on the parade. But it's every single year. It's the same story, and it's just getting to the point where I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words to try to just comprehend what the heck is going on at this club. We've had the opportunities, and it's the same story over and over and over again. And is it just that we're so naive that we don't learn from our past mistakes? I mean, how many times do we have to get beat by a team that goes out there, 30, 40 points behind us in the table, and, they pack the back and get us on one counter? It happens so frequently that it gets to the point where your head's about to explode. I mean, I'm sorry for going on a mindless rant here, but it's just this is the point that it's come to now. Like I can't stay calm anymore.
And well, no, Judd. I mean, I was watching the game on, when we went 2-1 down, and we created pretty much nothing after that. But it genuinely just, I mean, and as I said, we've had so many of these nights before, but this was the season we were going to do this. If we're ever going to win the league title under Arsene Wenger again, I mean, this is someone who's genuinely been pretty pro Wenger. Or backed him. Certainly did last summer when we won the FA Cup and felt he deserved another year. But the way that, how we just are never going to get this opportunity ever again where, Chelsea fall away spectacularly.
Oh, and they're not even involved after November, Exactly. I mean, all those clubs are out of it by November.
And it just feels like what this season's hammering home is that we just aren't going to win it again under this manager. And really, I said at the beginning of the season, if we contended for the title seriously, and I'm talking about pushing City or Chelsea or United all the way, then I could live with it. If we made serious progress last season, recorded 80 points in the league, and, if we lose to a team that, like, if City had a great season and won with 85 points, something, that wouldn't be enough perhaps for me to call for his head because...
Right.
If I felt like we had fulfilled our potential in the league and we'd finished second or third by a couple of points, I could live with it. But with those three teams have all fallen by the wayside, and there is with that in mind, there is no other option, other acceptable outcome to this season than that doesn't involve us sitting at the top of the table.
I mean, legitimately, there's 10 matches left, okay? And Leicester's on 57 points.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on pace for like high 70s. You're going to have a league. You had a league title available to you for 80 points.
Mm-hmm. And bear in mind that we, in 2013-14, when we collapsed spectacularly, we finished with 79 points.
Yeah, that would have been enough this year.
And that was the season where we lost 6-0 to Chelsea, 5-1 to Liverpool, 3-0 to Everton. I mean, we're sitting here with 51 points, Leicester at 57. So, yeah, you'd expect, at best, from 10 games, Leicester, if they pick up 22 points.
Yeah.
If any team reaches 80 points this season, they're probably going to win the league.
Right. Yeah, that's probably fair.
And we are on 51 points. So, we have to win 9 or 10 from this point.
Basically, we have to win everything.
And we're not going to do it. And that's the thing. It's not like we're coming.
You don't think so, Cal?
No.
Whatever gave you that idea?
Do you know what? It just. I know we're.
I've gotten to the point where I'm just even like I'm slap happy. Like I've just lost my mind with this. Right now.
I guess the issue is, like, some people who have wanted Wenger gone for a while will be pleased about what's happening at the moment because they think it's going to be closer to. I know I'm not. Even though I want him gone, I can never justify wanting us to lose matches. That just doesn't ring true with me. But the depressing thing is that even if you take the stance that, well, we're doing terribly and Wenger might go, under what circumstances do the board sack him? Do we have to finish fifth? Even if we finish fifth or even sixth, I still feel like they would at least give him another year. And maybe
I certainly don't see him
contract.
Terminating a contract.
And the issue, I mean, and there's been a lot of talk since the weekend about who we could potentially have to come in and replace Wenger, and the names we've talked about for some time just aren't available. Klopp is at Liverpool, Ancelotti is going to Bayern,
Pep the City.
Pep is at City. If that was ever a possibility, it's definitely not going to happen now. Yeah. And then you look at the names who might be available. If Diego Simeone wants a new challenge, then maybe we could get him. But with this board, would they get someone with that sort of character? And you look at what's happening at United with they lost a manager who, irrespective of results, Ferguson and Wenger are very similar in the sense of their control at each club, at United and at Arsenal respectively. They were the man. They controlled everything. And I worry that. And this is no justification for keeping Wenger in a job if we don't win the league this season. But I worry what's going to happen to us when he goes. Not so much because I think he's a great manager who's going to take us on, but I just feel like I just don't trust the powers that be at the club to put us in a good position. I don't trust them to go with a manager who, like Simeone, if we could get him, who wouldn't settle for mediocrity, you know.
Well, a couple things that come to mind based off of all that, with this board, we don't really have any past history to go off of. I mean, we've got a new owner since, Wenger came in. There's been a lot of changes. So I don't know whether I should be worried about their selection process or not, because I don't know. I don't even know if they have one. I'm sure they've got some kind of contingency plan put together.
I don't know if they do, though, because
more than that, what bothers me the most, and I think you saw it tonight, is this squad. I don't know if they have the same kind of mentality that Arsene has anymore, because when you saw Fur go down with injury, quote unquote, we just stopped playing, and you could just see how livid Wenger was about that. Like, why are we stopping? You could see that he wanted us to keep going. He wanted us to keep pushing, but the players didn't. So is there something lost? Is there some kind of disconnect between what he wants to get out of his squad and what he actually is getting? And I mean, don't get me wrong, that is definitely no excuse for him, because a manager has to be able to instill in his players his mindset, his mentality, and what he wants out of them. And if he can't do that, that is certainly a failure as a manager. But it's just, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to make of it anymore. Like, it
just seems that, for what people will always point back to last summer and say we didn't buy the players, and to January as well, saying we didn't buy the players we need.
Right.
But what worries me even more is that the players that we do have, that we all agree are of acceptable quality to play for Arsenal, just apart from Czech, Özil, and maybe Monreal, haven't been doing it. Koscielny's had a poor season.
They've been horribly inconsistent.
Alexis has been terrible for ages, and Ramsey has looked like the player he was, in 2012 than he was in 2013-14 when he was scoring for fun. He was the heartbeat of our team.
Has he made a forward pass in a month?
It just Coquelin, who looked so good, hasn't found his feet again. Yeah. The whole team looks so disjointed, and we really found our rhythm when we had Cazorla in the middle, we had Coquelin, and we seemed to just come across a formula that worked. And now we just look. I mean, I love Welbeck, and I think he's done really well since he came back. We are putting so much pressure on him to perform, because Walcott is just a shadow.
Well, we've been doing that for years.
Giroud has
been counting on one player to carry us, and now it's gotten to the point where we're counting on a guy coming back from injury to carry us. You just can't do that. You need squad unity. You need everybody to be contributing. I can't remember which podcast it was, but a while back I was saying, after one of our particularly poor performances, that you can have one or two guys not quite there on the day, but when you've got 7, 8 not quite there, that's when you have a real problem, because if you've got everybody else contributing to their potential, and then maybe one or two having an exceptional game, you'll just coast past the finish line. But we've had everybody off form for, at least a week. I mean, this past week, and it's like every year we have this annual sour patch where we just play terribly and just completely fall out of every competition at the same time. And it's like a horrible week or two to be alive as an Arsenal fan. And I think that
the thing is, Judd,
we're certainly in that period right now.
At least last season we had a terrible start, but we finished the season really well. And the year before that, we finished the season terribly, but we had a great start. There was a long period where we looked really good. This season, we have looked good for, I make it 5 matches, 5 league games between when we lost to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and we beat Leicester, United, Watford, Everton, Swansea. We then drew with Tottenham, lost to West Brom, drew with Norwich. And then we've never regained our mojo after that.
Right. We've had a couple of sparks here and there, but nothing that's actually.
I mean, we went. We beat Villa 2-0. I remember at the in Villa Park. Yeah. That was not a good performance. We got lucky to beat Newcastle 1-0. I mean, we have been playing terribly or under just really bad for ages. And I just we've you can't have 5 good games and call that a title run.
No, it certainly can't. And the title goes to the most consistent performer over the year, and that has certainly not been us. So I mean, hats off to whoever winds up taking it, unless it's Tottenham. Screw those guys. But I mean,
but to be honest though, like it's Tottenham, so we hate them. But I would have nothing but respect for the manager and that team if they won the league, and it would kill me
as long as they earn it. As long as they earn it, and Leicester doesn't give it to them.
Well, at this point, Leicester have got a pretty favourable run, and I can't. My point always has been that if you win the league after 38 games, you deserve to win it. I don't care if it's a poor season or a good season. You win the league, you deserve everything that comes with that accolade. And I'm not going to, obviously the thought of Tottenham winning the league doesn't fill me with glee, but I'm more distressed with the state of our club and what is to come, because if we cannot win it this season, with Guardiola coming in at City, with Conte coming in at Chelsea, who will spend big, with United almost certainly going to bring in Mourinho, with Tottenham looking like they're actually
anybody could do better than Van Gaal.
It just feels like, and with this Arsenal team, you look at it and you just think it needs such an overhaul, and that is even if we manage to keep Özil and Alexis, and at the moment, I don't buy into all that speculation. I mean, we've got a good squad. I don't see it. I mean, I can understand that there's reason for them to be frustrated, but they're getting paid over the moon, and I know, Judd,
they're the stars of the squad. They're the guys we're going to build around.
Judd, Alexis is perhaps a bit different because we've signed him more recently and he's had a pretty poor season. But if you're Özil, this guy's a World Cup winner. This guy is used to playing for Real Madrid, where they are at any given time one of the best 3 sides in the world.
And we've never really treated him fairly as fans.
How old is he? Is he 27 now? He's had 3 years with us, and he's not stupid. He will know that this was the season. The same way that when Suarez broke down in tears in 2014 when Palace and Liverpool drew 3-3, he knew that he would never. That was the year that Liverpool had to win it, and he obviously probably had an idea that he was going. Maybe if they won the league, he would have stayed. But and Liverpool fans, I think, you recognise that they had a special team and a special player, and they were riding on a wave. And that was the year. And this year we haven't done that, in the sense that we haven't been great all season. We have been crap for a long, long time. But the circumstances with regards to the season mean that we could have nicked the league had we just got our shit together for a few more games, and we haven't done it. And with Özil, I'm sure there is a recognition there that he could be playing for Barcelona behind that front 3, or he could be playing for Bayern Munich. And if either of those clubs came in for him in the summer, even if Juventus came in for him in the summer with a good offer, I wouldn't begrudge him a move. I just wouldn't. I mean, why would you?
I can see the point.
Özil was the best number 10 in world football, and he's playing for a team that is an absolute shambles at the moment. I mean, we are. I mean, we are just
not holding any punches tonight.
Judd, it's just a season.
Well, the one thing that really just got to me tonight was, and it's not been just tonight, but there's such a lack of urgency in this squad. It's just unimaginably poor how they don't seem to care. Clive was saying about how, we shouldn't be too upset as fans because it's not wise to invest yourself emotionally into something that, they're not emotionally invested into as players. So why should we? And tonight was just a shining example of that. In the second half, when it's 1-1, we're trying to walk the ball up the pitch. We're passing the ball around the top of the box. We've got the ball in the corner, and we make a pass back out to the midfield. And it's such a slack pass that it gets picked off. Next thing you know, they're breaking down the flank. We foul them in the corner. Boom, 2-1. I mean, come on.
I've got to say to you though, I don't think it's them not caring. I think it's a mental fragility. It's a lack of confidence that you look at how we played today. Up until the 1-0, we played brilliantly, right? We were good. And then we shit the bed. We give them a goal. Everything gets more nervy then. The whole team, all that confidence, that swagger we played with for 20, 30 minutes just goes out the window. the rest of the half we played okay because we knew there was a lot of time. But then we hit the bar again. Things get more nervy. That's when the passes go awry. Then we concede.
Well,
then the atmosphere
to be fair,
turns.
I think
Judd,
even when we were playing well, I don't think that we were really, going at them full bore.
My point is, I don't think that they're, against United at the weekend, you could accuse them of that, of just not turning up. Tonight, I think they had turned up, but what is the worrying thing is that they are thrown off their stride so easily. It just takes one mistake, one sloppy goal conceded, and they just go to pot. All the passing goes off, and we are a team that depends on slick passing, on good movement, and we take off fucking Joel Campbell, who is our only player making good moves. And
oh my god!
But that's my point. The point is, I think there is just, we are frustrated as fans at how we've been here before with regards to these games and thrown it away, and the players know that, and the crowd know it, and it feeds back to each other. The players know that the boos they're going to get at full time if they lose this game, if they even draw this game. So that is when it comes in, and that's when it just becomes clear that we don't have a team capable of winning the league. That just the confidence is shot. They know that this is a great chance. They're not stupid. They know all these things the fans know, and it's affecting them. And the manager does not have the ability to arrest this slide, to get us going again. And we feel like we're just waiting. Tonight, if we had beaten Swansea and Tottenham had lost, City had lost, Leicester had drawn, this could have been the night where the players suddenly, a light bulb went on and said, we're still in this.
Yeah,
we've just won
3 points off.
And then we go to Tottenham the weekend. Maybe we get a point. Maybe we win. I don't know. But and the fact that we lost tonight when every other team dropped points is crushing. And not only for the fans, but also for the players. So I think we'll know that they have blown. It's like we've been given so many opportunities all season to stay in the race. Then tonight, with 10 games to go, when we had the most horrific performance of the weekend against United, out of nowhere, we get another golden opportunity to put ourselves back in the mix. And we still cannot take it. How many times we had this season to go top of the league? Like twice. We had 2 games where we could do it, and we lost both of them, or we dropped points. It's just, we just don't have the cojones to win the league. And another year, that would have been masked by Chelsea winning with 90 points, or City or United, or someone going away and winning comfortably, and we would be.
We have nothing to worry about.
But now we're third to Tottenham and Leicester. So it's just. Look, if we win that, we might still win it. It's been one of those seasons. Again, I'm talking like I think
the eternal optimist, Callum.
I'm not an optimist. But the part of me saying this is like 5%. Right?
Yeah, but it's enough to actually get a voice.
If we won tonight and then we won at the weekend, I would think we're gonna win it, but we are in with a fucking great chance, unbelievably good chance, because our running doesn't look that difficult in comparison to the other teams. After we get past the Tottenham game, we still have City to come, but with a bit of momentum. But tonight just felt like, I was wobbling after the weekend, but tonight just felt like the final. I'm not checking out the Wenger in, but I'm at the door ready to go and just say, this is it, and we have to win the league. Otherwise, I can't back him anymore. There's nothing.
The Wenger out campaign has really kind of lost a lot of steam over the last 2 years. And while it was in full bore, I was more of the mind that I didn't want to see him leave, but I had reached the point where I wouldn't have feared him leaving as much anymore. And I wouldn't really, I wasn't, fearful of the day. I just thought that we had reached the point where we had become so stagnant that something needed to change. And I think the FA Cup wins were enough to kind of get me back on the
that was what
mindset that I thought things were starting to turn the corner. I thought we were really starting to turn the corner as a club. We were on the up. And then the last 2 years, it's just been the same thing. It's the exact same league campaign. It's the exact same Champions League campaign. We had a couple good cup runs. But if we're looking at things objectively, it hasn't really changed. We're still where we were.
Let's link this into the questions, because Catchy Femi Obi, who is It's Obi on Twitter, says, do you guys agree with me that we've reached the end of the road with Wenger and it's time for him to go? And I think we're both echoing that sentiment. I mean, and my position in the summer was that I felt that since since the beginning, like for example, since 2013, the summer Özil came in, we won back-to-back FA Cups. We signed some great players. We looked like we got the monkey off our back with the trophies. We finished 2015 that season in such emphatic style, winning the cup and playing so well for so long. I kind of felt like, well, I think he deserves another year.
Right.
But then I said earlier what I thought we had to do this year, and we've not come close to doing it. And I just felt like it's all, as you said, that word stagnating. That was the thing that worried me the most. And I felt like there had been enough progress the 2 seasons prior to this, mainly due to the FA Cup wins and the couple of, Alexis and Özil and Cech getting some really top quality names in. That was what made me think that we were making progress. Maybe not as fast as we'd like with regards to Champions League performances and really competing for the title, but we were getting there. And this was the season where we would really become a top 2 side or a genuine contender again. And it hasn't happened. So we are stagnating. And especially when you look at what City are doing with regards to their future and the money that United and Chelsea have to spend, and the way that Tottenham have done what they have done with Pochettino in charge. So all that considered, reluctantly and with a heavy heart, I just cannot you support the manager when I no longer believe that we can win the league under his stewardship. And that's all it comes down to for me. We cannot be where we need to be as a club with him in charge, unless we win the league this season. But it's not gonna.
You got to stop that.
I have to put that slide in just in case we go on a 10-game.
Yeah, that's the little asterisk by your statement. For me, I think I'm firmly back to the point I was at 2 years ago, where it's gotten to the point now where I'm convinced that something needs to change. We need a manager that demands more. We need a manager that has that fighting spirit, that ruthlessness, that does not take any opponent for granted, does not accept lackluster performances, doesn't suffer fools.
Well, that's why Simeone is such an attractive proposition, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's Theo Walcott would be out this club.
I don't care who the manager is. He needs to have those qualities. We need somebody to come into this club and light a fire under some of these players. And if they can't be lit, it's time to move them on.
But Stan Kroenke, is he going to hire a manager like that?
Of course not. Well, no, I don't. Sorry. I mean, he doesn't. He doesn't care. I mean, honestly, he's so disconnected as an owner. I don't even care to talk about him. I mean, I know we have to because he's the one signing the checks, but hopefully he's smart enough to know that he doesn't know anything about soccer, so he needs to hire people that know what they're doing and put his trust into them. So as far as he goes, I don't even want to talk about him.
I guess the depressing thing is that if you've lost faith in Wenger, and I think both of us are getting to that point, we either stay with him and we don't believe that we're ever going to be serious challengers under him, or we get rid of him and I don't have any belief in the powers that be to hire a proper manager. So
it's certainly not a sunny night tonight, is it?
No, it's not, Judd. Let's wrap through some of these questions so I can go and hang myself.
Anybody that's looking to be talked down from the ledge, just stop listening now, because we're not the two to do it tonight.
There's another someone who isn't really a question. Aaron F. Titus has just said, feel like I've wasted 5 years of my life investing in Wenger, hoping it would work. And I think, whilst I don't feel like I've wasted 5 years of my life, I certainly feel like I have given him too much leeway, perhaps.
It's hard not to. I mean, he has done so much more for the club that is completely undeniable, and he will certainly go down as a legend in Arsenal lore. But the last decade sure, we've got the 2 FA Cups, and that's a great accomplishment as a team. But there's been so much failure, so many missed opportunities, so many things presented to us that all we had to do is just reach out and take it, and we've said, nah.
And it's almost tragic when you
the new number one.
When you watch back the clips of the Invincibles and the 2002 double winning side and the 98, and you look at Wenger there as a man who was coming in and was lighting a fire under the arse of the league. He was coming in, he was winding up Fergie, he was doing what only Blackburn had done, and that was win the league instead of United. He was doing so much revolutionary things, bringing these players into the country, and everyone was adopting his way he looked at nutrition and the way they prepare for games, the way they played football. It was just literally revolutionary. And then to see him now, where you've got someone like Pochettino, who's a young manager, doing stuff with this Tottenham team that, you know, if Wenger was able to do that with this Arsenal team, we'd walk the league this season with this squad. And it feels like the game has passed him by somewhat. And, you know, for him, what keeps him in the job, people will say maybe it's just the salary, that they're being that cynical and saying, well, give up an 8. But, you know, I do believe that he wants to win as much as any of us. He just has his way of doing things, and that way of doing things doesn't match up with winning league titles in this day and age, which is incredibly upsetting and frustrating and despairing, really. And
one thing I want to add to that,
see him like this. But
anybody that didn't see Arsenal in the early 2000s needs to go back and watch the way that we played under him. You know, a lot of the praise that he gets as a manager has always been that he played beautiful. He had his club played beautiful football. He got the most out of his players. And you look at the way that they played then compared to the squad that we've had this year, and it is completely night and day. Tonight was a perfect example. If you go back and watch the second half. Even when we're down a goal, when we win the ball back off of players, our first look is always backwards. I wish I had a stat, but I have to imagine at least 2/3 of the goals that come from open play in this league come within 5 seconds of somebody winning possession. It's a quick counterattack. Look at the way that Swansea played tonight. When they won the ball, it was 2 touches and it was at Gomi's feet. That's the way that we used to play. We used to get the ball deep in our own half and break. We haven't done that in years, and I don't understand why. Even when we're behind in games, we don't do that. Tonight, we're 4 minutes into stoppage, down a goal. The ball goes out for a throw-in. We've got a player right there. He runs over, gets the ball, and then Monreal comes running over, waving his hand, saying, no, hold on, let me throw that in. What are we doing? Where's the urgency? Come on, don't let him get back and set up for the defense.
I like the way you stopped yourself from saying
I'm trying really hard tonight. I am trying really hard. And, you know, Rick was talking about it on Sunday. He called it the Danielson effect. And tonight it was another shining example of that. Come on, man. Especially when you're playing against inferior opponents, don't give them time to get their feet. I mean, that's the same way I am with my kids that I coach. It's the same thing. When we get the ball back, we're on the attack. That transition from defense to midfield to forward has to be quick. And tonight, we're winning the ball back in the midfield, going to the defense, getting it back to the midfield if we're lucky, and then once out of every 10 times we get possessions, one of the forwards touches the ball. Half the time, it's Sanchez on the wing, and then he just passes it back to Ramsey in the middle, who then passes it out wide to Bellerin. And it just comes back and forth and gets recycled, and the next thing you know, it's 3 minutes later, and Swansea's kicking the ball down the field.
Do you know what? I think a lot of it is just, you look at this squad of players and you think we're not getting the best out of them at the moment, and it would be just interesting to see what someone else did with them. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm jealous of Liverpool at the moment with Klopp in charge. They might be 10 points behind us. They might be
He's getting playing a lot out of his squad.
Europa League football next season, but you've got a manager who you feel like can do something with this team that maybe we haven't seen before. With Wenger, I don't know. I'm too young to know anything else but the Wenger way of playing football, and I mean that even like I don't even remember the Invincibles. I didn't really support Arsenal back then. I was too young. So my Arsenal watching experience has really just been
go watch the DVD
from when Fabregas was. I mean, I've watched enough of it to know what it was like, but
it's such a stark difference. It just smacks you in the face.
And honestly, no matter what happens with regards to who our next manager is, I just hope it's someone who is going to do something a bit different, who will do a clean break, and we can see something different, even if it means finishing 6th one season or
honestly
2 seasons. It will just be just getting and feeling like we can build something new and something fresh. I think the players need that as well. I think they need someone to blow smoke up their ass and fire up their ass.
I feel really sad that it's gotten to this point. And I completely agree with that sentiment that it's time where we just need something different, and that is such a sad state because we had such a great squad, and we had probably the best manager in the game, if not one of the top three, and it's gotten to this point now where I've just become so tired, and the squad and our performances have become so predictable that I'm ready to accept anything different. That's sad.
And I think that's what we want, is really, especially for fans who don't remember anything but Wenger, because it would be nice just to see a different manager in the box doing something different with the team. Anyway, let's rattle through a couple of these questions, Judd.
Sure.
Keep it short. We've got one here from Two Fella Soof, who says, how do you feel about the atmosphere at the ground today? Good or bad?
Yeah.
The fans are finally having their say.
Well,
and the one thing I would like to say on this very short, just quick, is that when we were 1-1, when it was we were 2-1 down, it just felt like the fans weren't getting behind the team because they didn't believe we could get back in it. It just felt like we'd been here too many times before, that there was no rallying behind this team because it was such a Groundhog Day-esque feeling, being in this position yet again. And it wasn't like, you watched Tottenham at the weekend when they were 1-0 down to Swansea, and the White Hart Lane was bouncing. They really got behind the team. They felt like they could get back in it, and they did, because they've been doing that for a long time, getting back into games, winning them 2-1.
One thing I wanted to say,
the fans.
Well, no, completely can't fault the fans, because it's been played out in front of us so many times. But one thing, I completely agree with everything you said just now, but going back to what you're saying about how we started the game so well, and then when we lost the goal, we seemed to kind of lose our confidence. I think that same thing just reverberates between the fans and the players, and it just becomes a cyclical thing. And it's gotten to the point now, as fans, normally we can try to pick the squad up, but it's at some point you just reach exhaustion with them, and we've tried to do it so many times and failed, and I'm seeing the same thing play out in front of me again. I just don't have the energy to do that anymore. And
exactly.
I'm not excusing the fans. I'm disappointed that we were that way, and I'm guilty of it here. I'm 1,000 miles away, sitting in my living room, but I've got the same kind of mindset as a fan, sitting in my living room watching it on the telly as they do in the stands, and I'm yelling at them, getting fired up about this aggravating back passes.
It's difficult to rally behind the team when all you can really, like when Swansea scored that second game, I just felt that overwhelming sense of resignation that
I tweeted out season over.
Yeah, so it's difficult to, when you're going to cheer for the team, it's difficult to do when you don't believe that we're going to do it.
And it's sad that
and the team shouldn't need the fan at this point. After this season, the players should be the ones having to get the fans going, not the other way around. So, one tweet from the Real K Ross just said, "Don't do it to yourself." So, thanks for having our best wishes in mind.
What can we say?
But this is basically just an hour-long rant, but it needs to be said. A lot of this stuff. One other question. Again, we've spoken about this in some way or the other, but Alexis Your Beauty at Le Nicolai says the collective collapse is happening. Do the squad need an overhaul and change in mentality? How then? And personally, I think there's a mixture of, there is the holes in the squad, but there is just there are players in this team that should be doing a hell of a lot better than they are, and that comes down to the manager and the mentality and all the things we've spoken about. So the manager,
that dirty player that is willing and able to take a game by the scruff of its neck, and like a Steven Gerrard or a Frank Lampard type that can pick everybody else up around him. And I think that's people have been saying it for years that Arsenal.
And what's scary is that it feels like Özil is the leader in this team, in the sense that he's the one that is trying to get us going.
But he's not the vocal; he's the example.
Yeah, but you don't need that though.
Goes out there and plays with.
I know. But he's the one leading by example, in that he's trying to make things happen, whereas the rest of the players seem to be floundering, and that's what's so scary. I mean, Czech again, he's in goal, so you can't really say much about him. I think he obviously does what he can from there, but it just feels like there isn't there was no accountability in the team. There's just no, there's this feeling that some players just would not stand for what's happening, and it's just not, and there isn't that.
Right.
There isn't that player in the locker room, and that's what's incredibly distressing about everything. And anyway, on to Tottenham.
Yay!
What's your prediction, Judd?
You know what? I normally wouldn't do this, but I am not going to say anything tonight because I think I've maybe said enough that I'm going to regret in the future. I've put away all the sharp objects tonight. They're all locked away. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to try to make it through the rest of my night without doing any more harm to myself. So I'll think about it on the weekend, and then, hopefully I'll have had time to kind of digest everything that's happened, recollect my confidence. Hopefully the players can do it quicker than I can, because they're going to have to.
It's getting to the point where I thought, well, if we get a point from there, then that's 2 points. Spurs won't win Leicester. Like, it's got to the point where it's just like, if we can just stop them from not winning the league, then
play spoiler, as they call it over here in America.
Yeah, as I'm, curled up in a fetal position tonight, or at the weekend, I could take up some. Oh well, come on, Leicester, you can do it, please. But anyway, that was probably the most depressing podcast we've ever done. And did we not speak after we lost 5-1 to Bayern early in the season? I think we did, or maybe that was last year. It all kind of blends into one grey, miserable.
I try to block those things out of my mind. They're repressed memories by this point.
I know. I guess before we sign off, one other thing is that there is a quiz we are running for the Arsenal Foundation, the Gooner Ramble quiz, which is being run by our own Akil Vias, who is running it. Really good cause. It's at the Tollington on March the 9th. If you want to potentially go along and participate, I believe there is a room for a couple of teams left. And if you do want to find out more about that, head over to the Gooner Ramble pod on Twitter or at 10akil, where you can get more information. And even if you can't come along, we do have a Just Giving page that is all for the Arsenal Foundation. So, if you do want to come along, it'd be a good night to talk about days gone by, happier days. I'm actually writing the quiz, so I've been trying to go for as many happy memories as possible, rather than these dark days we have suppressed. And maybe by the 9th that we won't even remember this game. It will be out of our minds, back somewhere that only a therapist can get back up in 20 years or so.
Once we turn over Barcelona, I mean, we'll have all forgotten about this.
Yeah, just whenever you think about how do it just feels like
sorry.
And you remember we've got to go to the new camp. It just feels like someone's just punching me in the balls every time. Like if it wasn't bad enough, have that. And also, Czech and Koscielny are out of the game at the weekend.
Oh yeah, so we didn't mention. We just got word right before we started recording that apparently when Czech was tracking back after coming up for the corner there, he did his hamstring and he's out for 3 weeks. So. Even more. Also,
it looks like if you're an American listener, Donald Trump's going to be your president as well. So there's that to look forward to as well. Is this the apocalypse, Judd? That is the question.
It could be.
This could be the last podcast.
How many signs do you have to have before the apocalypse starts?
I don't know. It's the 4 horsemen. I don't know. Donald Trump looks like one, and maybe Pochettino's the second one. The
horseman would have better hair.
You would think, wouldn't you? Maybe he's a false horseman. Anyway, we might be going slightly off piece, but anyway,
it's always a pleasure. Hopefully better days are in our near future. I always love talking about football. I just wish sometimes we could do it on a more positive note. End
of May, we'll do a podcast on the same day as the title celebrations in North London, and we will look back at this podcast and we will laugh after our 10-game winning run that begins with a 3-0 victory at Tottenham at the weekend. So let's not talk anymore. We'll leave it on that. All right. Judd, thank you very much for joining me tonight for this.
It was my displeasure.
Yes, for that displeasure. My name's Callum. You've been listening to a Gooner Ramble. Thank you to anyone who's listening to this for having the endurance to listen to remind yourselves about what happened in this game. And here's to a better future. And we'll catch you on the next one. So thank you very much and goodbye.